Schoology, and then we're going to see, we're going to go into period 2 because that's the period we're in, and you're going to see a new folder, and it's going to say Pixlr selection and color change. And when you click on it, there's just going to be 2 items in there. This is where you're going to go ahead and submit your work once it's completed. I don't know how Manny already has something in there, but I'll go ahead and check on that after. And then when you click here on exercise 1 images, it's going to take you to a drive folder that I shared with everyone. So these are the images you're going to be working with. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to go ahead and get the Angels logo. You can get it 2 ways. You can right click and you can click download here. So that's one way, or what you can do is you can double click it and you can click the download arrow here. So whichever is easier for you. For the example, I'm going to go ahead and download the Apple logo. So I'm just going to do the double click and download method. And I'm going to go ahead and see where it went. See it's here. I'm going to drag it to my desktop and replace what's there. I'm going to close this out. And then I'm going to go and open up a new tab here. I'm going to go to Pixlr. That's the website we're using to edit our photos. We're always going to select the advanced option. So go ahead and select the first one there. Close this one out here when I was working on. So again, open up image. You see on the desktop, we're going to go with the Apple. So we just downloaded. So we have a few options on how to edit this. Basically, again, we're going to work with the selection tools, which is going to be the lasso and the wand select. But before we do that, as a rule of thumb, we always get rid of this little lock icon by double clicking on it. Once we do that, we have free reign over the changes that we can make on this image. So the first tool I'll go over is the lasso select. Again, when you select a tool here, it always brings up the menu bar here at the top where you can make changes. So the free selection is the default. And what this does is it lets you basically free draw with this lasso tool. So that one's a little difficult because it would have to come out perfect. So for me, I can't do that with the trackpad, but you can try. And once you complete your selection, it's going to flash like this. And it's going to let you know basically whatever is inside of these flashing lines is what you're going to be working with. So even if you try to do something on the outside, it won't allow you to. So this here is the fill tool. This lets you change colors of selected objects. And again, these are the paint colors here. So the top one is the selected color, and then the bottom one is your quick switch. And you can toggle between the two of them with that little arrow right there. So let's leave it at pink at the top. If I try to click out here, didn't work. It went to the selection over there. And then now it colored in the inside. But as you can see, that doesn't look good. I'll hit Command D, which is deselect, or on a PC it's Control, and then the letter D, and it'll get rid of those flashing lines. As we can see, this looks pretty horrible. That's not what we're going for. So we can go edit, undo, 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 and then undo. So that's the first one. That's the free option. The next one is polygon. This one works pretty much amazing. It just is how much time you're willing to actually put into it so that it can make a really clean selection. I'll show you on the white portion how it works real quick. Once you click down, it creates what's called like an anchor point. So it's going to go ahead and latch on to where the original click was made and then branch out to wherever you bring it to. So if I say I click it here, now it's going to be anchored there, and you can make whatever shape that you want. And once you complete it, it'll start flashing again. So let's take my sideways crown. Say I wanted to make it yellow. So kind of mimic gold. I can do that. And then bring my fill tool and I can click inside of it. Okay, so that's that tool there. Let me go ahead and go back here. So again, if we wanted to take our time and use that version of the tool, we can start here, we can click and just take our time to make our way around it to get it perfect. That's another way to do it. I'm not going to go ahead and complete it, but as you can see, it's not too difficult to use. It just takes time. And you would just complete it. So that's another tool. And then this one is called the Bowser. If you can see at the bottom corner, it kind of has like a curved line with two anchor points. Those are those like kind of dots. What this one does is very similar again to the polygon, but when you click, now what it does is it gives you a third option and it allows you to kind of bend the line. So depending on what you're working with, this might be a good option. The third click, you'll go ahead and do that. And then as you can see, kind of brings it down. I'll go here, hold it out. So just doing that kind of what you're going for. And if you double click, that's an easy way to end it. And then they'll go ahead and create that selection for you. That's not what we want there. And then the last one here is magnetic. What it does is it sees the difference in the colors and it does its best to make its own anchor points. So if say I started here, I click down and I'm just following. As you can see, I'm not clicking. If I keep steady and I keep it within the brush range, it's supposed to go ahead and do it for us, basically, make that selection. As you can see, it's not perfect. Some scenarios it works out really good, some it doesn't. It just depends. So it did an okay job, but it cut off this corner. I couldn't see the difference because it's a little bit faded out there. So again, usually if you're going to go ahead and use this tool, the polygon is typically the one you're going to use. That one usually works best, but it doesn't hurt to try the magnetic one if you want to just go for really quick. This tool here is called the magic wand. It sees the difference between areas with similar colors and very different colors, like the white and green. That's very different, as you can see. So if you click on the area, it's going to do basically what the magnetic tool did. It did an even better job. So sometimes this tool is the only one that you need. Sometimes it's not. It just depends on what you're working with. So again, just try the different ones and see what it does. We like the way that looks, so we can go ahead and click the fill and make it yellow. So that's one way. Again, Control D or Command D to get rid of the selection. It's not the cleanest one, so again, the polygon tool would probably work better, but it does work with the other areas. So if I go ahead and click this one, and I click red, switch it over, go to my fill, click down, and that's an option there. As you can see, that one's pretty darn good. I would say that's acceptable. If you want, you can go ahead and touch those spots, but I'm not going to be that critical because if we zoom out, it looks perfect, so that's okay. Maybe use the selection tool here, and then for the other ones, you can just go ahead and click. And then with the fill tool, it's going to do basically the same thing as the wand tool. You just won't be able to see it beforehand. So if you want, and you know, I have a nice clean image and it's working well, you can try the fill tool without even using anything else to make the selection. Just let it go ahead and do its thing. So I'm going to go ahead and pick pink as my color and click down. And as you can see, it did a pretty good job. I left a little bit of the green behind. So again, we're just starting, so I'm not going to be too critical of that. But later on in the class, I'm going to ask that like we would actually take our time and trace it out and do a good job with that to make sure there's no green left behind. But again, I'll be a little bit lenient this time around because we're just getting some practice in. But that's pretty much what you're going to do for each of these logos here in the folder. You're just going to go ahead and come up with a new color scheme for them. And we're basically going to see if we can make a better looking one, or we can see why they chose these distinct colors on their logo and why they're so catchy. So again, we're just going to go ahead and play with that right now, and then mess around with basically our selection tools here and also our fill tool. So just those three, those are the three that we're going to be using. So again, if you want to go ahead and take that time and try to make this one look really nice, go ahead and use that polygon version up here up top with the lasso tool. And the other ones you can kind of get away with just using the fill. So do the same with all the images. Just kind of get a feel for it, see if you're getting the desired effect. If it's not, go ahead and do it manually. But most of the time, it's pretty decent. The 7-Eleven logo is a little bit harder to work with because it's not such a clear image. So if you're having issues with that one, most likely you're going to want to go ahead and trace each image by hand, and that's how you're going to get that best result. Okay, so I'll leave it open to see if there's any questions.